Hi, everybody. Thrilled to bring some great innovators on stage with me today. But before we jump to this, these lights are really bright up here. Quick audience participation. So how many, raise your hand if anyone, and since you guys are all in the industry, if anyone's family members probably heard about a supply chain for the first time around COVID? Yeah? Okay. And how many of you have lost sleep at night in the last 6 months over global supply chains in your jobs? There's a few. There's a couple up here. So we are very much, obviously AI is having a huge moment and will continue to, and plays into the work that we're going to talk about today. But supply chains are also having a huge moment of disruption over the last 5 years, and especially right now, which means that there's a huge opportunity for circular supply chains to have a real advancements in this moment. So I'm thrilled to be up here with two innovators in very different roles, one with a very large company, one with a growing company, to talk about the innovation that they have in this space. And I am a co-leader of an investment firm that focuses solely on circular supply chains. And we are very bullish on hard tech and innovation right now, particularly around circular supply chains, and I think there's no better space to talk about this than in the fashion space. So I'm going to open it up, Golnaz, with you first, and just have you talk a little bit about your role and the innovation in circular supply chains related to Nike.
Great, thanks, Bridget. Golnaz, Armin. I've been with Nike for about 17 years and been working with sustainable product all of these years. And maybe a different type of question. How many of you are watching the World Cup? Raise your hand. Okay, more. Yes.
That's more than the other two.
Yes. Amazing. I'm wearing one of the shirts. So what I'm going to talk about a little bit, answering your question, is through our newest products. So all of the Nike-sponsored Federation kits are our textile-to-textile recycling, 100% textile-to-textile recycling, that we are very proud of. And this is like the work of many people involved across the supply chain, for years involved. I was lucky enough to work with our innovation partners over the course of these years. And I think the pivot point for us at Nike was really thinking about how do we use technology and innovation in a different way for sustainability. I think before we were thinking that sustainability is going to lead the conversation. For our consumer, which is the elite athlete, they just want better product. So what we did with the football kits is a brand new silo of apparel, which is called AeroFit. With the technology of this textile-to-textile recycling, we realized that we were creating yarns that was lighter and stronger than ever before. And if you're watching these games, there's a lot of tugging, there's a lot of wrestling, there's a lot of theatrics. These garments need to withstand a lot of those, tackles, so they need to be super strong. And our athletes want zero distraction. What does that mean? They're playing in increasingly hotter climates, so they want to be feeling cool. And they want to be able to have something that's super lightweight. So how can you create a lightweight product that's breathable and actually perform? So that was the pivot point, to say that can we make the best product for our athletes and with the most circular, with 100% recycled content. So like that, again, not always all of these things happen together, but I think that's the part and the power of being able to kind of combine your innovation, your, into the kind of the core need of your suppliers and consumers and innovation and design and all the above.
And Golnaz, how did you get that off the ground? What was done, or what was needed internally for Nike to approve bringing this to market at the scale that you have?
And it's a great question, and I think it does take a lot of alignment. Internal alignment is probably the biggest bottleneck in a company like Nike at our size, but obviously the innovation to scale is a bottleneck. I don't think it's necessarily the technology or the solution is the bottleneck, but the adoption is, we've learned we're working smarter. So I think for us to be able to kind of launch this at this moment with key sport event, with key federations, many athletes, so it did require to make sure we eliminated all the risks. So we had a lot of pilot plans that we actually started this work during the Paris Olympic on few of our product, but being able to kind of like build the confidence. And I think for us, the adoption is really the voice of the athlete. When they actually wear these garments and say, this is the best kit I've ever wore, then there is no obstacle after that. So it's like, how do you actually solve a problem, get to a place that you have confidence, and again, it's about that innovation, best product, and sustainable. All of those are equally important. One is not, leading the other one.
And Chloe, so you created a company to help these supply chains work. Can you talk a little bit about yourself and your business and your innovation?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. Chloe Songer, one of the co-founders and the CEO of Supercircle. And so we work with brands like Nike to essentially map their post-sale supply chain. And I'll tell you a little bit about the problem first, and really get into what we do so it makes sense. And you know this, we've been talking about it, but we're in a situation today where fashion is actually closer to a single-use product category than ever before. 60% of clothing manufactured today hits a landfill within 12 months of manufacture date. You can check me on that, it's a McKinsey stat. And 70 to 80% of our clothing is plastic polymer based. So it's polyester, nylon, spandex, those are plastic polymers. And 70 to 80% of that production is in Vietnam and China, virgin production. And that plastic polymer is petroleum, it's oil, related to that supply chain fear we were talking about earlier. And so this is a critical fiber that is critical to many of our physical supply chains that we've offshored, yet we own a lot of that waste here, and then we're offshoring that waste. And so what Supercircle is looking at is partnering with big global brands. What do you do with items post-sale? And we are building the critical physical infrastructure as well as the critical digital infrastructure to power collection, sortation, and allocation to get every garment when it falls out of a warehouse, a store, returns post-sale, or when it falls out of a customer's closet when it's used. And it's previously been considered waste. We're capturing those items and then we're routing them into valuable downstream markets, whether that's resale, donation, or recycling. And so in order to make products like what Golnaz just described, the soccer kits, we're actually having to recapture that fiber and figure out how do we create systems change and build new supply chains where you can get old polyester that was once considered waste back into a recycling infrastructure to become new products over time. And that infrastructure has not previously existed.
Yep. And Golnaz, how do you think about scale at Nike? Like, what has to be true for you to take something and actually bring it to market and scale? These are complicated global supply chains. What has to be true today? Kind of would this have been possible 5 years ago?
Yeah. Probably not. If it was possible, we would have had this for our previous World Cup on kids. I think I always think about Nike, our biggest advantage is our scale, and our biggest challenge is our scale. So the best way that we were thinking about, at least from a textile to textile, and the current challenges that Chloe is talking about, was multiple approach. We need to work with our existing supply chains and sources and work with them on new technology and the way they're innovating and recycling, and build closer relationship with the raw material input into that. Because in the past, we were not really involved in it. So how do we build for that? And we also need to look at new startups and new supply chains and new technologies that are doing, innovation in this zone. So kind of like, building that. But for us, I think, we've done this in the past. We've learned from it that we might pivot and find a new solution and kind of like forget about our existing supply base. So building the confidence and like bringing them along the journey and partnering with them and gives us better confidence on adoption internally, and they understand our product, and the performance needs while we're looking at new ways and new solutions. So I think it's kind of like merging all of those things. But Chloe talked about it. I think maybe like leading into some of your other questions is really what's the challenge here? And I think it's like that, really looking into the raw input of these materials. I think even though this product is 100% recycled, it's a mix of post-consumer and post-industrial. It is easier to get reliable, consistent source of post-industrial textiles than post-consumer. So that's obviously a big kind of unlock to kind of build better infrastructure and better partnership on how can we actually access that for our existing supply chains and new partners that we want to build.
Yeah, and you obviously are one who are, acting as a partner to brands, and you've had real market traction. But how do you, like a lot of folks in this space have gotten stuck in this very early stage. How do you, pass that chasm and grow to scale? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, and we were talking about this earlier, how important this is to closed loop, but we're at two critical kind of inflection points that are making this possible now, right? So we have this inflection point in the fiber recycling market where, 5 to 7 years ago, you could get 10 to 20% recycled cotton back into a t-shirt. Now you can get 50 to 80% plus, right? And so new advancements in recycling, but how do you go from pilot and bench to real commercial scale? And there's a $15 billion investment gap right now in American circular textile market. And that's everything from the fiber processing to the sort and collection infrastructure to the data gap that we're solving. But then, partly what we're doing to solve this gap is there's this new inflection point with physical AI and data and what was previously not possible being possible today. Waste and textile sortation are largely offline markets that are human-led and human-powered. So 80% of used clothing today is sorted by the nonprofit space by humans. Right? That's Goodwill, Red Cross, Savers, and it's physically, manually sorted and then physically exported abroad. And when you lose connection with an item, any type of physical item or a t-shirt, you no longer know what brand it is, what price point it was, what fiber it is. Now it's waste. But if we can identify that item further upstream, we can then map that item to import records, we can map that item to price points, we can map that item to ownership, we can also map fibers to downstream markets. And we can unlock compliance opportunities, tax opportunities, as well as real manufacturing opportunities and resale market opportunities. And so that's what we're focused on. And in terms of getting to scale, we are really an industry aggregator and network. And so a big part of what we're focused on is, networks compound with additional nodes. And so more brands, more recyclers, additional, consumer engagement and consumers on the platform continue to expand the power of the Supercircle platform. And so we're in a real moment of growth where we're focused on going from 2 sortation facilities to 3 with a roadmap to 50. We've 3x'd year over year since we raised our Series A last year. And we'll be another 2x again by the end of this year in terms of capacity. So really looking to continue to scale volume, but this is a larger systems change problem.
Yeah, and to that comment about the moment and the amount of infrastructure needed to invest in this space, we as an investor tried to actually build an investment fund specifically around this topic several years ago. We just had this conversation, and it was too early. The market wasn't ready for this. And given where we are with supply chain challenges and the cost of supply chains generally, we are very much in a moment where I think we can move much further ahead and scale some of these businesses that have been challenged, just seeing the fact that you were able to go to market at scale immediately. So we're really excited about this moment. I think this is very relevant for the folks who are not in the fashion space as well, very translatable to other categories, and we're seeing this across categories as an investor, that we're being seen more as a supply chain investor than a circular economy investor, which is good for all of us. So I guess as we kind of move to close here, any key takeaways or things that you'd want to leave with the audience as they think about their own businesses?
Yeah. I think that shift I talked about is really important. We obviously want to create values within our sustainability ecosystem. It needs to create business value, but I also want to add that it also needs to bring innovation, something newer and better. I think if we kind of lead with that, the rest of it become a lot easier. It's still difficult, but it become easier. One also public announcement that I promised I'll do, make sure you, as you exit the seminar, you recycle your lanyards. It's a cool company, Earthlights, that they're working on making sure that they are getting recycled. So just wanted to mention that.
Wonderful. You have 20 seconds. Any last brilliance?
Yeah, look, I think for any brands, retailers, or companies in the room with any type of physical product in the supply chain, we're seeing compliance move very quickly and legislation move very quickly in this space. And so one of the things that we believe very strongly is that the brands that act now can actually build business models and build value from the circular economy rather than see this as a tax. And so that's a big part of what we're focused on.
We've seen that across the board in all supply chains. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate the time, and thank you. Applause for the group.